We finally hit 2,000 subscribers, so as I promised a lot of you, it's time for a Soundwave VS Grimlock illustration. Let's bring this illustration to life. There was a sudden crash. The ground shook from the impact. A gigantic wave, kind of like a tsunami, rippled throughout the lake. One of the giant venomized creatures that was summoned had been knocked over and he hit the water's surface. The surrounding Autobots and Decepticon warriors paused in their battles for a moment, and some of the Decepticon warriors looked at the surge of water heading towards them. Turning on the spot, their face overcome with a wave of fear. During this time, the Doctor Strange on the Autobot side set up a protective spell which caused the wave to split. However, on the Decepticon side, the Doctor Strange only put a protective spell around Megatron and his elites. Those watching on the news could see that many of the Decepticon warriors were swept away as the wave crashed on the shores of the lake. Megatron was far from impressed at his lackeys that were swept away, thinking they would make better scrap metal, as Megatron watched in dismay. It was at this point Megatron ordered Soundwave to go and stop the Sorcerer Supreme, who was protecting the Autobots. Megatron was also aware that Soundwave would be able to give an advantage to the version of Doctor Strange on his side, and turn the tide in this mystical standoff. Soundwave sent out his cassettes, which transformed into Razorbeak, Rumble, Ravage, and Buzzsaw, to scout ahead and act as decoys for him to get close to his target. The Minicons, for lack of a better term, set off and started to clear a path on the Autobot side of the lake, while Soundwave, under the cover of chaos surrounding all sides, stealthily made his way over to the Autobots with relative ease, unaware the whole time that Optimus Prime had noticed his advance. Optimus sent Grimlock, who was not converted with a venomized symbiote, to intercept Soundwave. Optimus Prime was fully aware that a sonic pulse from Soundwave could hurt or immobilize any symbiote-infected being. This was a very strategic and perfect counter to the potential attack from Megatron's forces. As Soundwave got close enough to attack his target, his Minicons were attacked by the Dinobots. Seeing that the Dinobots were occupied, Soundwave lined up with his target and was just about to fire a sonic pulse at the enemy, on a frequency he had used to disable and capture Venom previously in their journey to Earth. All of a sudden, Grimlock came crashing down in his dinosaur form, causing Soundwave to dodge before he could attack his target. As Grimlock turned and swung his tail to create some distance between himself and Soundwave, he transformed back into his robot form with his sword in one hand and poised ready to fight. As the dust settled around Soundwave, he turned to Grimlock and said,
"Soundwave superior, Dinobots inferior."
This caused the rather simple-minded and straightforward Grimlock to become enraged, and he simply replied in an angry tone, "Soundwave inferior, Grimlock superior." As soon as he finished his sentence, Grimlock dived at Soundwave, swinging his sword down towards him. Soundwave, although armed with his handheld concussion blaster, dodged the attack and shot a blast at Grimlock in response. The blast narrowly missed Grimlock, not through the fighting reflexes of the often clumsy Autobot, but by Soundwave being knocked from a shockwave in the battle going on behind them. Soundwave, while off balance, used the handheld blaster to block a swing from Grimlock's sword. The attack was blocked, but the blaster was sent flying through the air. Immediately, Soundwave grasped both his hands together and swung his arms with an almighty blow against the side of Grimlock. Despite Grimlock being bulky and larger in size, Soundwave, for a small frame, was actually stronger than he appeared. The blow impacted Grimlock with enough force to knock him off balance and force the sword in his hands to go flying. Both of these warriors were now unarmed as they got back to their feet and took up a stance to fight again. Soundwave looked around, but his Minicons had their hands full keeping the other Dinobots at bay. It took all they had to keep them occupied without being defeated, meaning they couldn't return to Soundwave's side and distract Grimlock long enough for him to complete his mission. This wasn't ideal, but in terms of strength, he was able to contend with Grimlock on an even footing when it came down to it. Both lunged at each other and grabbed each other's hands, battling in a stalemate. Both of them were locked in the struggle as the rest of the battlefield, full of blasts, explosions, seemingly avoided the area where these two were. Grimlock then said, "Me Grimlock superior, Soundwave inferior." Suddenly Soundwave used the laser on his shoulder to blast at Grimlock. The blast skimmed Grimlock's face, causing him to stumble, but giving Soundwave a chance to use a sonic pulse to push Grimlock back, separating two battling Cybertronians. It seemed as though this battle was going to go on forever. Neither side was giving an inch. It was at this point Megatron looked over and saw how the battle was going. He then fired a tendril off the symbiote out of his cannon, hitting Soundwave directly in the back. The symbiote started to crawl and engulf his body, making an organic cocoon around him. Just then, while Grimlock was watching this, he felt something hit him from the back. An organic being similar to what had engulfed Soundwave started to go over his body. He turned to see what had happened, and saw Optimus Prime with a half-changed arm that had shot the tendril at him. In confusion and disbelief, Grimlock only managed to say one thing before he was cocooned. Prime? What did you guys think of this illustration for the 2000 subscriber special? Without you guys, we wouldn't have hit this milestone, so I want to say thank you to everyone who supported the channel. Hopefully we'll hit more milestones to come. Really enjoyed how this piece came out. Quite like how Soundwave and Grimlock kind of have an impact and a collision with each other in part of the fight. I think it brings the kind of like the strength of these two Cybertronian warriors together. Monday will be a live stream and we'll decide what we're going to do in the community tab, so be sure to check that out. Anyway, stay safe everybody. I'll catch you next time.